Today we are going to discuss about the peripheral vascular disease, which includes both the arterial system and the venous system. First, we will touch the venous system of the lower extremity and its associated pathology. Before we touch this pathology of the venous system of the lower extremity, we should know the surgical anatomy and as well as the physiology of this venous system. The venous system of the lower extremities consists of two parts: the superficial venous system and the deep venous system. Superficial venous system and the deep venous system, they are connected together below the knee or by a group of the veins which are known as perforators that connect the superficial venous system to the deep venous system. The superficial venous system means the veins which are just deep to the superficial fascia, and there are two veins. One is the great saphenous vein and other is the small saphenous vein. The great saphenous vein is found by the medial end of the dorsal venous arch. It runs in front of the medial malleolus, and it is accompanied by the saphenous branch, which is the longest infrapatellar cutaneous branch of the femoral nerve. It runs in front of the medial malleolus, and then it goes to the calf. Then it ascends upward and also receives the two collaterals. One is the interior and another is the posterior collateral in the middle of the calf, ascends upwards in front of behind the medial malleolus, and then comes in the thigh. And ultimately, this great saphenous vein, it enters in the fossa avalis into the femoral vein, and this vein is at this entrance has got a bicuspid valve, which is called as a saphenofemoral valve, and that directs the blood flow from this great saphenous vein into the femoral vein. The other vein which is important in the superficial venous system is the small saphenous vein, is found by the lateral end of the dorsal venous arch. It passes behind the lateral malleolus. The great saphenous vein passes in front of the medial malleolus. The small saphenous vein passes behind the lateral malleolus, and it also accompanies the branch which is called caudal nerve. It ascends upward in the middle of the leg, back of the leg or middle calf, and ultimately it terminates into the besides the deep fascia and enters into the popliteal vein. Again, at the junction of the saphenopopliteal, there is a valve which is called saphenopopliteal valve, and this saphenopopliteal valve also allows the blood to drain from the superficial vein into the deep vein, the popliteal vein. In addition to the great and the small saphenous vein, there are also a communicating veins which are labeled as perforators. And these perforators, these are the venous channels which connect the deep venous system to the superficial venous system. And these perforators, they emerge out from the deep muscles of the calf into the fascia, and then open into the superficial venous system. There are 4 and 5 group of the perforators. One group is just below the malleolus, that's called inframalleolar perforators. The other perforators, they are present in the thigh, in the middle of the leg, and the other group of the perforators, they lie in the adductor canal just above the knee, in the femur adductor canal, and other one is above the knee. One group of perforators and other is the below the level of the knee joint is the inferior group around the knee joint. So one is just below the medial malleolus, other is in the leg. Then comes out the other group of perforators in the adductor canal, and Dayton's canal, and two group of the perforators. One is above the knee or other is below the knee. These are the venous channels which connect the superficial venous system to the deep venous system. In the direction of the flow of blood is superficial veins to the deep veins. These valves, they open only in a unilateral direction, that is from superficial venous system to the deep venous system. This is very important to remember. The physiology of the venous system is that these veins, they are provided with the valves. The valves, they are numerous in the veins of the lower extremities, few in the upper extremity, absent in the trunk, just like in the chest vein or the abdominal veins around the umbilicus, or you will find also the inferior vena cava or a portal vein, they don't have a valves. No valves in the venous system of the trunk, thickly populated veins with the valves in the lower extremities, and few valves they are also present in the veins of the upper extremities. And these valves, they are bicuspid valves. They direct the blood flow from the superficial venous system to the deep venous system. And these valves, they provide the unidirectional flow from below upwards towards the heart. Once these valves, they are damaged, endothelial damage of the veins, which can, there is loss of elasticity in the veins, which can make the valves incompetent. When the valves become incompetent, then there is a retrograde flow of the blood from the deep venous system to the superficial venous system. As a result of that, you will find the veins gets dilated, tortuous, elongated, and these are known as called as the varicose vein. Dilated, tortuous, and elongated. The veins become elongated, dilated, and tortuous. These three characters of the vein is known as the varicose vein. Varicose vein may be present in the lower extremity. It may be present as a hemorrhoids in the lower part of the rectum and the anal canal. It can present is the esophageal varices around the lower part of the esophagus, including the gastroesophageal junction. So these varicosities are due to the venous hypertension. The pressure in the veins is very much increased. As a result of that, there's a backward flow. The veins become dilated, tortuous, and this venous hypertension can lead to the varicosities of the veins. That is about the physiology of varicose veins. And the support of the varicose veins is by the soleal pump, which is a second heart, and this tone in the muscle and walking and contraction of this calf muscle. It also provides as extrinsic pressure on the veins that will increase the tone in the veins, and as a result of compression, the direction of the flow of the blood is facilitated towards the heart as long as the valves, they are competent. Now we will first discuss the varicosity of the lower extremities. Varicosities may involve the great saphenous vein, may involve the small saphenous vein. The tortuosity which is present along the great saphenous vein along the medial side of the leg and the thigh. The important vein is the great saphenous vein and its tributaries, or which connects with the deep venous system through the perforators. And the other vein which can has got a varicosities is the small saphenous vein. The veins become dilated and tortuosity of the veins will be present on the back of the leg. The tortuosity related to the or varicosity related to the great saphenous vein, these veins, just like a snake's, will be present along the medial side of the leg, above the knee, usually not present, but usually below the level of the knee. These varicosities are present because of the incompetent of the valves. The commonest valve which become incompetent in great saphenous vein is the saphenofemoral valve. That is the great saphenous vein is opened into the femoral vein below the level of the inguinal ligament in the groin crease, in the fossa vallis, is provided by a bicuspid valve. When this valve becomes incompetent, there is a retrograde flow of the blood from the femoral vein back into the Gate-Saphenous vein. As a result of that, the veins gets engorged, dilated, tortuous, along with its tributaries which connect with the deep venous system. Similarly, if the saphenopoppliteal valve become incompetent, as a result of that, there is a retrograde flow of the venous blood from the popliteal vein into the uh, small saphenous vein. As you know, the deep venous system, these are the vena committantes in the leg which accompany with the interior and the posterior arteries, and these vena committantes join just below the level of the popliteal space to form the popliteal vein, and this popliteal vein later on become the superficial femoral vein, and that joins with the profunda femoris vein to become the common femoral vein. And the common femoral vein receives the biggest tributary is the Gate-Saphenous vein, and the Gate-Saphenous vein also receive the tributaries in the groin from the groin area like superficial epigastric vein, superficial external iliac vein, superficial external pudendal vein, and this superficial deep pudendal vein, or also the medial and the lateral saphenous vein, the tributaries, and 10% of the cane there is also a duplication of the Gate-Saphenous vein. So it is very important when a patient complains, what are the commonest presentation of this patient? One is the patient complaint, there is no complaint, asymptomatic. Mild degree of varicosity is present, they have no symptom at all. One. Second presentation is the because of the varicosities and the dilated tortuous vein, patient come and visit to your clinic for this cosmetic point of view. Okay, this is cosmetically is not acceptable, especially in the United States and Great Britain and the European countries, because their legs they are just they are visible because they are short pants. So these veins can be easily visible on the legs, and for that cosmetic point of view, they visit the clinic for these varicosities. And the third group of the patients, they complained of these symptom related to this varicosities. Majority of the patient, the cause of the varicose veins is the incompetent saphenofemoral or saphenopopliteal junction, depending upon the varicosity in the distribution of the Gate-Saphenous vein or the small saphenous vein. The symptoms may be, the majority of these patients, the cause is the incompetency of the valves, saphenofemoral or saphenopopliteal, or there is an incompetency of the perforators. These are the venous channels which connect the deep venous system to the superficial venous system. As a result of that, when the perforators they are incompetent, you can get the varicosities below the level of the knee joint in the distribution of the great saphenous and small saphenous vein. And these perforators, they can be incompetent, or a great saphenous vein or small saphenous vein nearest the entrance into the femoral or popliteal vein, these valves become incompetent. So this is the cause, is primary varicose vein. When the pathology lies in the valves, they are insufficient, they are not competent enough, and they are dysfunctions. As a result of that, the function is lost and there is a retrograde flow of the blood. The second type of the varicosity, which is secondary varicose veins, this is due to some underlying pathology. The underlying pathology is, one is a patient who has got a deep vein thrombosis. As a result of deep vein thrombosis, there is a venous hypertension, and as a result of that, you find the valves of the deep venous veins, that is popliteal veins or the vena committantes valves, instead of taking the blood upward, the blood is transmitted to the perforator into the superficial venous system, like great saphenous vein or small saphenous vein. So that is one of the cause of secondary any history of DVT, which can lead to a secondary varicosities of the uh, veins of the lower extremities. Other underlying causes are the raised intra-abdominal pressure because of pelvic tumors, the pregnancy, whenever there is a venous outlet obstruction because of any reason, that can cause the uh, varicosities of the lower extremities. One is the dysfunction of the valves, primarily caused secondary due to DVT, one, or there is a raised intra-abdominal pressure like pelvic tumors. Sometimes during pregnancy, the varicose veins appears, and later on when the pregnancy is over, you'll find the varicosity is decreased. And venous outlet obstruction of the inferior vena cava or the pelvic vein, they can cause the uh, varicosity of the lower extremity. These are the possible secondary causes of the varicose veins: pregnancy, pelvic tumors, or venous outlet obstruction at the level of the pelvis or in the lower part of the abdomen. So the presenting symptoms may be dull pain in the cough, dull pain or continuous dull pain is known as ache in the cough, one symptoms. The second, the patient may complain of there is edema of the ankle and the foot. Sometimes the patient complains of there is a hyperpigmentation in the area of the around the ankle joint. There is also a eczematous lesion itching, dermatitis, or at times in the later stage the patient may complain of there is an ulcer around the ankle joint or behind the malleolus or above the malleolus, there is a ulcer is there. All these symptoms, the patient has got ache, hand pains, edema, hyperpigmentation, and the skin become thin, and there is a subcutaneous fibrosis. And last and not the least, and the most end stage disease which develops is the venous ulcer. These are ulcers because of the venous hypertension, and you can find these ulcers around the ankle joint or behind the ankle joint or little above the medial malleolus or the lateral malleolus. The pathophysiology of the varicose vein is venous hypertension. Venous hypertension means that the hydrostatic pressure in the veins is increased. In a normal venous system, these valves, they dissipate the hydrostatic pressure. They do not allow to increase the pressure in the veins of the lower extremities because they are competent. So the veins may be dilated, but the direction of the flow of the blood is from below upwards or from the deep venous system to the superficial venous system. So when the valves they are damaged, the hydrostatic pressure in the veins is increased, there is venous hypertension, and the venous hypertension leads to stagnant hypoxia, and this stagnant hypoxia leads to endothelial damage, and there is a extravasation of the blood into the surrounding tissue, in which there are also present the mast cells, and these mast cells break down the RBC, and then the iron gets deposited there, which is called hemosiderin, and this hemosiderin which cause hyperpigmentation, and the mast cells and the hypoxia will stimulate the fibroblasts, and these fibroblasts cause thickening of the subcutaneous tissue, where the skin looks to be very tough. Overlying skin is thin, but underlying there is a lot of fibrosis there, which is called as the stagnant hypoxia lead to dermatitis, hyperpigmentation because of the deposition of hemosiderosis, and patient may get also the eczematous lesion because the histamine and various types of the chemical transmitter release like histamine, and they cause itching in the overlying skin, and that is called as eczematous dermatitis. and hemosiderosis, edema, and last and stagnant hypoxia can break down the overlying skin as a result of hypoxia, and patient develop ulcer, usually solitary or maybe two, in the hyperpigment area around the ankle joint. So this symptomatology is basically due to the venous hypertension. The treatment of varicose vein, if they are asymptomatic and mild varicose vein, I think the treatment should be conservative. What do you ask the patient to have? One is the elastic stockings, put up maybe below the knee or above thigh, and put off the elastic stocking at night, and you have got a intermittent leg elevations or leg exercise. Avoid to stand for a longer time or sitting for a long time. The patient should be ambulatory rather than a job in which the patient stands for a longer time or sitting for a longer time. That can cause further worsening of the varicose veins. So elastic stockings, intermittent leg elevation, and the leg exercise, and that is the treatment, the conservative treatment of the varicose vein when they are mild. And second, if they are cosmetic point of view, you can discuss with the patient later on. The surgical indication of the varicosity is when the patient develop the complication of the varicose vein, and the varicose vein they are in advanced stage. One thing you should remember, if you find in the young patients unilateral varicosities, which is very extensive, and the position is atypical, that is on the lateral aspect of the lower extremities, or unilateral. Young patient, 1, unilateral, 2, varicosities, they are typically placed that is in the lateral aspect of the leg, and there is also a birthmarks like what is called as the venous malformations, or you have got this telangiectasia, or which is called venous stars, genital birthmark. The diagnosis is called Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome. 3 features: young patients, extensive varicosity, unilateral or atypical position of the varicosity is really on the lateral aspect. And second important thing is that there is a limb hypertrophy. That side the limb become bigger in length and hypertrophy. And the third is the birthmark like the telangiectasia, or you can have got what is called as the congenital malformations. If there are 3 classical things are present: birthmarks, extensive varicosities on the lateral aspect, young patient, and the limb hypertrophy, your diagnosis is called Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome. In this situation, don't do the stripping of the Gates-Saphenous vein. The problem lies in the deep venous system. There is a malfunction of the deep venous system. If you strip the Gates-Saphenous vein, the patient condition become worse. So treat him conservatively, and that is the compression elastic stockings. The patient may be 15 to 20 millimeter of mercury, or you can have got 30 to 40 millimeter, various types of graduated elastic stocking or graduated compression stockings, which can be used in the morning and you can put it off at night, and intermittent leg elevation and exercise. Don't strip the vein, the condition become worse. This is a typically syndrome which is called Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome. Young patient, extensive varicosity, unilateral, atypical position of the varicosities with the limb hypertrophy. There's a disproportionate in the length of the limbs, that side affected limb become hypertrophy and is maybe increased in length as compared to opposite sides, and the congenital marks like port wine stain or the birthmarks which are present here, that is highly diagnostic of the Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome. Sometimes this question is asked in the MCQs, and in this situation the treatment is total conservative because the fault lies in the deep venous system, and you should treat conservatively, and very little indication for the some varicosity which are causing trouble, pain or hemorrhage. Under the help of ultrasound guide, that is localized varicosity, you can do stab avulsion phlebotomies for typical TAD or a sclerotherapy under the ultrasound guide for a particular varicosity which is troublemaking in this situation. By and large, the treatment is mainly a conservative one. So, if you find the varicosity and with the associated complications like hyperpigmentation, edema of the ankle or foot, or there is maybe an element thrombophlebitis, hemocytosis, or dermatitis, itching there, eczematous lesion is there, and venous ulcer. So there are various grades of the venous hypertension which can cause this trouble, from simple pain or ache in the calf to the development of venous ulcer. The treatment. The treatment of varicose vein, in old days, you have got the investigation, clinical test, Trendelenburg test, that you raise the foot end of the patient of the leg and empty the vein, you apply the tourniquet around the thigh and then ask the patient to stand up. If the veins fill up, if the veins don't fill up, it means that you have occluded the saphenofemoral junction. So when you leave the tourniquet, you will find the veins fills. That is a diagnostic test of saphenofemoral junction incompetent. But all these tests, now they are invalid, they are not so sensitive. The test which has stood the test of time and gold standard investigation for varicose veins is duplex ultrasound, or you can say it is duplex ultrasound means mainly both the duplex ultrasound or duplex ultrasound means that both the venous and as well as the arterial Doppler. You can check the venous system and as well as the arterial system of the lower system, that is called venous Doppler ultrasound, or you can say if you have checked both the venous system and the arterial system, that a Doppler study of the extremities, venous and both arterial. So this duplex ultrasound is a gold standard investigation for the varicose vein. It lets you two things. One, which system is involved, great saphenous or small saphenous, which valve is incompetent, saphenofemoral or saphenopopliteal, are they competent or incompetent. And the second thing, they will also locate the perforators, are they competent or incompetent. If the great veins saphenofemoral junction is incompetent, with the perforators they are also incompetent, they will mark the perforators with the help of ink, and they will say that this patient has got the varicosities in the distribution of the great saphenous vein with saphenofemoral junction is incompetent, or a saphenopopliteal junction is incompetent, plus the varicosities below the knee. And then the next day in the morning, it's very important to rule out their deep vein thrombosis, to rule out the Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome, because in those cases which you would do strip of the great saphenous vein, the condition become worse, and there is absolute contraindication of the stripping of the varicose vein. The one is the DVT, second is the syndrome which occurs in the young patients, extensive varicosities, that is Klippel-Trenaunay syndrome, AV malformations, arteriovenous fistula, in pregnancy, in case of pelvic tumors. No stripping of the great saphenous vein because underlying pathology must be sorted out. And especially before you touch the varicosity for the stripping, it is very important to rule out the deep vein thrombosis. Otherwise, the condition becomes worse. And varicosity becomes worse with massive edema of the lower extremities. So these things you should always keep in mind. For the gate saphenous vein, the treatment which is has to the test of time, that you place the incision in the groin, expose the gate saphenous vein on the fossa valles which terminate into the femoral vein. There are tributaries which are present around, which open into the gate saphenous vein before the termination of the gate saphenous vein into the femoral vein. And the tributaries, you should tie them: superficial epigastric, superficial circumflex, superficial external pudendal vein. They should be tied, and then you should show the junction of the femoral vein with the gate saphenous vein, and you do the flush ligation of the saphenofemoral junction, so that the blood should not come back from the femoral vein into the gate saphenous vein. And the gate saphenous vein, you put a stripper there and you strip it off from above downwards, just below the level of the knee joint. There is no need to strip this gate saphenous vein right up to the ankle, because you can damage the saphenous nerve, which is a branch of the femoral nerve, and as a result of that, if the saphenous nerve accompanies with the femoral vein at the ankle, so you can have anesthesia along the middle border of the foot and the toe. So in order to avoid that, the stripping up to the just below the level of knee is good enough, 2 inch or 1 inch below the level of knee, because the fault lies at the top. There is no need to strip the gate saphenous vein right up to the ankle joint to avoid the injury to the saphenous nerve. And similarly, if the saphenopoplar junction is incompetent, you make incision in the popliteal fossa, tie the saphenopoplar junction, and strip the small saphenous vein, a big segment, that is called a segment of the small saphenous vein should be excised. Don't strip right up down there, because you can damage the sural nerve, because the sural nerve accompanies the small saphenous vein and the saphenous nerve accompanies the gate saphenous vein. So avoid the injury to the anesthesia on the lateral border of the foot or the medial border of the foot. You should avoid the stripping right up to the ankle joint. A segment of the vein of the small saphenous vein is bit excised, and just rest of the vein should be left behind to avoid the injury to the sural nerve. The third point is that there are multiple perforators which are incompetent. They usually identified, and then that they do by making a multiple incision at the site of the perforator, which is called as the multiple incision stab avulsion phlebotomies. You expose the perforators, tie on both the sides, or you pull it from both the sides, or you remove the segment of the perforator of the venous system, so that you interrupt the flow. The main principle is to interrupt the flow. One thing is identify the perforators, tie on both sides, and remove the segment of physical ligation and excision of the perforators. Or you can do the multiple stab avulsion phlebotomies. You expose the perforator, you pull this one from both sides, so the connection between the superficial and the venous system and deep venous system is interrupted one. And after that, you apply the clay bandage for at least 4 to 6 weeks. 3 to 4 weeks, the clay bandage should be applied, and then you check that the varicosity they go away, the thrombophlebitis, the pain in the calf, ankle edema, all these symptoms will go away, and the patient feel better. And then you are advised to have a leg exercise after the clay bandage is off. You can put up the clay bandage in the morning, and you can take off the clay bandage at the night when you are on the bed for sleep. So that is the treatment, standard treatment of the varicosity involving the superficial venous system or the deep venous system. It is very important. Stripping of the gate saphenous vein just below the knee, and the stripping of the small saphenous vein just a segment below the saphenopoplar junction. Avoid the injury to the saphenous nerve or avoid the injury to the sural nerve, so there is no need to strip right up to the ankle joint or medial malleus or lateral malleus, depending upon the distribution of the varicosity along the superficial venous system. Perforator must be excised or do the stab avulsion phlebotomies by making a multiple small stab incision, and then you pick up the perforator, either you excise them or you avulse them of both sides. This is called multiple stab avulsion phlebotomies. So that is the treatment of the varicosities to have it. And the one thing you should remember that if they ask you in the examination what is the standard investigation, answer is duplex ultrasound, Doppler study of both the veins and the arteries. Regarding that, if the patient develop venous ulcer, so don't do the surgical treatment. You must treat the venous ulcer first by a treatment which is called Biscott treatment. You elevate the limb, wash the ulcer with the normal saline. When you elevate the limb, the venous hypertension is gone, and the ulcer is bound to heal in a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks. When you want to walk, you must have an elastic stocking on with the compression from outside, which is variable from 20 to 30 or 15 to 20. So this is elastic compression or graduated compression stockings. That is one of the thing which you should also used along with the leg elevation treatment for the healing of the ulcer. Ulcer will never heal if you don't eliminate the venous hypertension. One way is to elevate the limb, so the venous hypertension is reduced, and because there is no arterial insufficiency, then there will be no problem for that point. With ulcer is bound to heal when you eliminate the venous hypertension. When the ulcer is healed up, then you can treat the patient for varicosities. Don't treat the varicosities first and then the ulcer, because the whole wound gets infected, and that will be a troublemaking for a massive edema of the lower extremities. So treat the ulcer first by conservative management, and then you deal with the underlying pathology of the venous ulcer, that is the venous hypertension. In the majority of the treatments, you always treat the underlying cause first, and then you treat the pathological sequelae. But in this case, when the patient develops venous ulcer, you first treat the ulcer first by conservative management. When the ulcer is healed and the skin is covered there, the ulcer is covered there, then you can have the treatment of the surgical treatment of venous. There is nowadays a new treatment coming, endovascular. In this case, you pick up the varicosity with the help of ultrasound, and the associated abnormal veins, they can be treated by the method which is called as the thermal method, or is a chemical way of sclerotherapy. The thermal method may be radio frequency ablation or laser therapy, which can cause the endothelial damage, veins gets collapsed and fibrosed. So the particular veins which are varicose, they can be picked up and they can be treated with this ablation therapy, or that is by radio frequency ablation or laser one. Or you can also have got a sclerotherapy, not the liquid one, but the foam liquid sclerotherapy, which has a larger area of contact, and they can cause fibrosis of the veins. So this endovascular is coming into way with the help of ultrasound guide. The concerned varicose which are incompetent, they can be treated by the sclerotherapy, which may be a thermal or it may be a chemical. Chemical means a foam sclerotherapy. It's a form of the sclerosing agent, and they have a greater time contact with the vessel wall as compared to liquid one. Or you can have used the thermal, that is heat, which may be by the form of laser, or it may be with the radio frequency ablation. This is endovascular, which is coming into use nowadays, the endovascular treatment of varicose veins. The other important thing you should keep in mind regarding the venous ulcer, there are other types of ulcer which you find around the foot. One is a venous ulcer. Look at the location around the malleoli. One. Number two, you will get the hyperpigmentation, which is called hemosiderosis, and this hyperpigmentation, thickening of the skin around that, and with the ulcer just above or behind the medial malleolus or lateral malleolus, that ulcer is called venous ulcer. But the hyperpigmentation is one of the physical signs or edema of the foot related to the ulcer, and location of the ulcer highly diagnostic of venous ulcer. Cause is venous hypertension. It may be due to the varicosities of the a result of incompetent perforators or the main veins, saphenofemoral or saphenopopulator, or underlying cause may be DVT, deep vein thrombosis, which leads to venous hypertension, and that can lead to development of venous ulcer. Second ulcer you can see in addition to venous ulcer is the ischemic ulcer. When I say ischemic ulcer, it means it is the arterial ischemia, chronic arterial insufficiency, which leads to development of the ulcer, and these ulcers are usually present at a distal part of the extremity, on the dorsum of the foot or on the plantar surface or around the toes. These ulcers, they are small, the granulation tissue is not healthy, it is a pale tissue, very painful, and if you check the pulses, you will find the pulses, they are either weak as compared to opposite side, or you can also see the sign of chronic arterial insufficiency, and that is loss of hair, wasting, and the pulses, some femoral pulse is present, or maybe the popliteal pulse is absent, or dorsal speeder. So it shows that it is a chronic arterial insufficiency which leads to development of the painful ulcers. These are ischemic ulcers, so arterial system must be examined, proper examination to check for the pulses in the groin, in the popliteal fossa, and also the posterior tibial and the interior tibial artery, and compare with the opposite side. Sometimes the chronic arterial insufficiency is much more severe on one side as compared to other one. They are small ulcer, very painful, shallow, no granulation tissue as compared to venous ulcer. They are having very healthy granulation tissue if they are not infected, and the pulses, they are intact. So these are known as the ischemic ulcer. The third ulcer is the perforating ulcer or the trophic ulcer, which are usually present in those patients which has got a neuropathy, maybe meningomyelocele in case of children, or you can have got a paraplegia because of the transection of the spinal cord or the injury to the spinal cord. The loss of sensation is there. The patient is unaware of the pain as a result of any obnoxious stimulus. So the ulcer is formed and it goes on penetrating because you are unaware of it. This type of ulcer is called trophic ulcer, usually present at the sole of the foot. Sometimes they are so much penetrating they can expose the bones there. This type of trophic ulcer is a neuropathic ulcer, and usual cause is the spinal cord injury, or it may be an element of the diabetic nuts which cause neuropathy, or sometimes you have got a congenital malformation in newly born children, like the meningocele or meningomyelocele, in which you find the complete loss of sensation in the foot. These are known as the neuropathic ulcer or trophic ulcer. The other type of ulcer is called diabetic ulcer, which constitutes a diabetic foot. Majority of the diabetic ulcer, they are usually present at the heads of the metatarsal bones, usually at the second metatarsal bone with the metatarsopharyngeal joint. And this diabetic ulcer is basically due to the angiopathy, neuropathy. There are two important factors, because blood supply is jeopardized, and over that long-term diabetes called neuropathy also. Neuropathy is also there because there is no pain at all. So as a result of that, you will find there is a break in the skin, and with which the patient is unknown to that break, and the ulcer doesn't heal and it may go down. And this diabetic ulcer, classically I have told you, on the heads of the metatarsal bone and the second head metatarsal bone, metatarsopharyngeal joint is common. And these ulcer, this is because of the complication of the diabetes. The major vessel may be intact, and the smaller vessels, they are diseased one, and along with the neuropathy, with which the patient is unaware of the pain. So that is called as the diabetic ulcer. And the other ulcer is called malignant ulcer. That is the ulcer which is malignant. It can present as ulcer in the foot, around the ankle, or in a previous old healed scars of the burns of the venous ulcers. And this is low-grade squamous cell carcinoma is called marginal ulcer. That is the long-standing chronic scar of the healed venous ulcer, or as a result of burns and they will develop a slow grade or low grade or slowly growing ulcer, which is called low grade squamous cell carcinoma. This is called marginal ulcer, which occur in the previous scar, and the other proper malignant ulcer may be edge they are raised, and you will find this. You can see that it may be a malignant ulcer. So ulcer around the ankle or foot may be venous ulcer around the ankle joint, ischemic ulcer, trophic ulcer, diabetic ulcer, or malignant ulcer like a squamous cell carcinoma rising from the skin of the foot. It may be a melanoma also, and this melanoma is sometimes the amelanotic melanoma, and the ulcer which develop in the old scars of the buns of the sinuses, that is called marginal ulcer. It is basically a low grade squamous cell carcinoma which is slowly growing and is unlikely to have a secondary deposits. So these ulcers you should also keep in mind, and it is very much important whenever you get an ulcer on the foot. It's very important to rule out one, diabetes mellitus, check the blood sugar level. People, they don't know it, they have or not. Second thing is you have to do the neurological examination, that we call the ankle jerk, knee jerk, and sense of position, vibration, dorsal column may be involved because of diabetic mellitus long time. Then you have also look for any signs of venous insufficiency, that's hyperpigmentation, ankle edema, and location of ulcer is there. And if you think this is a ischemic ulcer, you must palpate all the pulses of the lower limb, and you have also the history of intermittent claudication and signs of chronic arterial insufficiency. And last and not the least, you should look very carefully if this ulcer is the malignant ulcer. You take the edge biopsy. So it turns out a squamous cell carcinoma. So that is all about the ulcer of the lower extremity. It is very important to differentiate between the various types of ulcer: venous, arterial, ischemic, trophic ulcer, and diabetic, marginal ulcer, and a malignant ulcer like squamous cell carcinoma, or under the nail bed you may have got a melanoma, because melanoma is one of the malignancy of the skin. The common site is the skin for melanoma. The second is the eyeball, the cornea or the iris, and the third one is the anal canal, and last this is the rectum. So the common site of the melanoma is skin. So skin is better in the foot. You can have a melanoma or squamous cell carcinoma also. That finished about the venous pathology, especially the varicose veins. Regarding the deep venous system, that is one of the complications of the long-standing lying down hypercoagulable state is deviant thrombosis. You will read more in medicine. Once you suspect a deviant thrombosis, the first thing you do is you heparinize the patient, and then you get the Doppler scan that will let you know the clot is present or not. Once the clot is present, heparinize the patient first, and then you put the patient on anticoagulant therapy with the maintenance of prothrombin time between 1.5 to 2.5, and you give this anticoagulant therapy for 3 months. And if they recurrent venous thrombosis, then you have to put the oral anticoagulant for the rest of life. So recurrent DVT, anticoagulant for the rest of life. And if the first time DVT, and you sorted out the underlying pathology, and then you have to put the anticoagulant for at least 6 months, 3 to 6 months. That is little about the DVT, but main thing is the varicosities and the venous ulcer and other ulcer of the foot. That finished this chapter of the venous diseases of the lower extremities. Venous diseases of the upper extremities are very rare, and seldom they ask you in examination. Thank you very much.